Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us for is this our third live stream review?
Episode 3.
Awesome. We enjoy these, so I hope you guys enjoy them as much as we do. It's just a lot of fun to see what's going on the other churches out there. You guys are doing a great job, and, bottom line is we're all serving the Lord and doing our best, and we're just here to, iron sharpens iron, right? Just here to help you out, maybe hear some things that you don't hear whenever you're listening to the same thing from week to week. It's always great to have that outside perspective. Speaking of, we always like to start these by listening to our own live stream and critiquing our own. And don't hesitate to leave your own comments about our live stream in the comments. Trust me, we're not going to be offended because we're here to get better just like you are. So anything you want to say, Dylan, before we kick that off?
I don't believe so. Thanks for being with us today. That's it. All right, so here we go. A little pre-story before I play this. This was the first Sunday that we experienced some technical difficulties with our LED screen, which is what's behind us right now, where it had some kind of digital interference at the start of worship at all times, out of all the times it could have done it. And part of the panels went out. And so one of our guys actually had to go up there during the song and fix it, which you'll see in the video. But that was a good time. I know there might be some people being like, well, that's what you get for buying a cheap LED wall. But what's funny is when I did the tour of Church on the Move, which is a mega church in our area, when I went to their service where I was filming at, they were actually having issues with their high-end LED wall that they rent as well. So it comes along with LED walls apparently. But that's the only time we've ever had that issue with it. I can't remember another time.
Nope, that's the first time. And, everything has technical difficulties. So
True that. So let's check it out.
Your presence is an open door. We want you, Lord, like never before. Your presence is an open door. So come now, Lord, like never before. Come on, is he here with us this morning? In every season, your grace has been enough. And I'm believing the best is yet to come. Come on, anybody else? The cross before me, my hope on things above.
And then he got it fixed. And you hear our bass guitar hit a few wrong notes because he's literally right behind her while she's trying to play.
All right, so this, in case you're just now jumping in, we are critiquing our own live stream first. We talked about how we had a little technical difficulties with our LED screen. It was working great pre-service, and as soon as we started worship, a big section of it goes out. So our tech guy was actually behind the screen working on it during this first song, and he got it figured out. But let's go ahead and critique the audio first. I was actually really happy with how that turned out, and I'm probably my own worst critic as far as how our own mix sounds, but I loved how the bass sounded. I loved how the kick sounded. That was nice and full and clear at the same time. My only critique, which would be a little bit nitpicky, is I don't think they were mixing the snare loud enough in the mix, because that's where a lot of the energy in the mix comes from as well. You want kind of that kick and snare in these higher energy songs to be like right there in your face. At least that's how I prefer to mix. So that was my main critique as far as the way it sounded. What do you think, Dylan?
I think that was one of our better weeks. I picked that one, obviously, because I wanted to show the LED wall fail, but last live stream review, we showed kind of one of our bad ones, so I wanted to show a good one, to show that we get it right every now and then. I think this was 2 weeks ago, but visually, again, I'm the biggest culprit for some reason, but I always forget to step forward far enough to where my face is not washed with the backlighting. I said this last live stream review too. I was like, I need to nail it in with our vocalist to step forward enough, then I'm always the culprit, so go figure.
Everybody looks good but you.
What can I say? I'll try to do better.
I want to mention that here recently we decided to run our front lighting lower than what we had been. And the reason we did is because we want to prefer how it looks in the room versus on camera. That's what we do at our church. Because the reality is we have, over 100 people here in the room with us, and then we may have like 10 to 15 people online. And so we want to kind of cater to how it feels in the room. And it feels overlit to me in the room in worship whenever it's bright enough for the camera. So we started bringing those down, and we have had a few complaints from people who are watching online, like, I can't see the people during worship. So something that we're dealing with right now. I think we're probably actually going to keep it the way that it is, though, because it looks really good in the room.
Yeah, and I'll show you real quick something I've been doing the last probably month when I design kind of the stage for worship on Sunday. For the first song, it's usually upbeat, so I'll do a fun background, and I'll do some color wash on the curtains, and the front lighting is a little bit brighter, not as bright as when like he's up here speaking for the sermon, but and then we get into the second and third song of the set, which are a little more low key, is when let's see, where's it at? Well, dang, I guess I didn't do it in this one. Oh, I remember why, because I forgot to tell our screen guy that the second song didn't have a background on the screen, and then he left it up there. That was my bad. Here, why don't you read some comments, and I'll see if I can pull one up and show you. But it gets kind of dark, and I turn all the backgrounds off on the screen and the curtain, and then we just have lyrics on it, and I think it looks kind of cool.
Yeah, everybody's just kind of saying hello in the comments. So I want to say hi to Dan and Gabriel. Looks like we got 2 Dans in there. And then we got Bernard and Ben.
So you're
Chuck.
thinking about coming.
And Steve, hey guys, thanks so much for joining us. And they're literally from all over. We got Texas and California and Michigan and all kinds of places. That's awesome. Let's see what we've got. Toss a tennis ball at it. Oh, I guess you're talking about the LED screen deck. Dan said just toss a tennis ball at it next time it goes out, and maybe that'll solve the problem.
But that would do it.
That would do it. But y'all, thanks for joining us. Dylan's trying to find a lighting example. Looks like he found one.
Yep. So if you look here, one thing I love about the LED wall is when there's not anything on it, it's like it isn't there. It blends in with the curtain behind it. So all you see is the lyrics kind of floating up there. And then I just have some warm backlighting on everybody and just a tiny, tiny bit of front lighting on the vocalist. So that's kind of been our second and third song look. And I just do the same thing every single time. I'm trying to find the most least distracting look, the most least distracting. But I think I've liked it so far. What do you think?
Yeah, it looks very dark on the live stream. I mean, if you're watching this on your TV or whatever, which I had to stay home the other Sunday and was watching it, it's like you really couldn't see much of anything during worship. But like he said, in the room, it looks awesome because you can kind of see the vocalist, but they're not distracting, and it's not like you don't want to just look and stare at them because there's all this beautiful light on the stage. But it helps you just close your eyes and focus on the worship moment that's taking place.
True that. All right. Guess we're ready to move on to the first church here.
Yep, let's move on.
So we have CrossView Church, and this was Nate that submitted this. So let's go ahead and throw it up. Here it goes.
Let's sing together. Raise a hallelujah in the presence of my enemies. I raise a hallelujah louder than the unbelief. I raise a hallelujah, my weapon.
All right. I loved how you could hear the vocals nice and clear. That's always a big plus. I always tell my sound guys, if you get the vocals, especially the lead vocal right in the mix, everything else can be forgiven. So I'm going to imagine that sounded great in the room and everybody was able to follow along, and that was a great worship set. As far as some things that you could do better is I think you could actually bring those instruments up in the mix. They were very background compared to the vocals. I mean, I think the vocals were too far in front, so it was missing some interest in the sound because the instruments weren't loud enough. The acoustic guitar was almost there. I would just bring it up a little bit. And then I heard the piano way back there in the bottom. So kind of bring that up until you can hear it better. It's going to bring a lot more energy to that mix. I also wasn't hearing a lot of reverb or ambient miking. I don't even know if it was in there at all. So I would actually say that is going to be the number one thing that I would start with on this mix is introduce some reverb first. Maybe you have reverb going on in the room, but you haven't figured out how to get that into your live stream. I have a live stream course actually that addresses that, and it's free. And you can go to collaborateworship.com or click the link in the description to go through that live stream course and figure out how to get that same reverb that's in your room into the live stream mix as well, and that's going to make a huge difference. And you want to also pair with that some ambient miking. And what that is you have like at least 2 microphones that are pointed towards the audience that's picking up the sound in the room, and you add that to your live stream mix, and it helps the people who are watching online feel like they're actually there in the room because they're hearing the sound of the room combined with the mix. So do those 2 things, add reverb and ambient miking. It's going to make a huge difference in the way that sounds.
Visually, I think I like the curtain wash. I think that looks really good. I was kind of scrubbing around between different shots throughout this, and I noticed the white balance was a little bit inconsistent. Like they look pretty magenta in this. So either adjust that in your camera's white balance or in your software. And then the main shot, let's go back to that. It's looking a little flat. So maybe you probably have different cameras going on between shot to shot. So maybe see if you can match the contrast in your software if you're having trouble getting cameras to match. I know that can be hard sometimes. Kind of go around a little bit here.
They're one up in us anyway because they actually have multiple camera angles, whereas we only use one.
Through that. As far as how things are arranged on the stage, I think I heard a piano player back here, but I don't see him in any of the shots. So maybe if you could arrange people differently to where you can see him, because it kind of sounds like a ghost player at the moment. Or maybe he wants to hide. I don't know. I think that's about it. I like the shots you have going on. Maybe see if you can level them out a little bit better. I noticed some were looking a little skewed. I get that, though. Sometimes our camera does, too. It's hard to get straight sometimes, especially when you have to set it up each week. I think that's it, though.
Awesome. While he's loading up the next one, just want to mention that if we're reviewing your live stream and you want to add some more details to maybe some things we don't know, just drop those in the comments so we can see that. And I also noticed that Bernard was talking about how he's had so many times where the tech was working great during rehearsal and then it just falls apart during the service. Yeah, I think everybody raised their hand to that. Why does that happen? It's very annoying. And then everybody's looking at you like, didn't you prepare things? Yeah, we were here for like 2 hours preparing that. And then it was all working great, but now it doesn't. Caleb is here from France. Thanks for joining us, Caleb. Let's see, we got a question here. What's the best way to get consistency across all devices? I'm going to assume he's talking about between cameras since that's what you were just talking about. So Ryan is asking that question.
I mean, I would say first start with your white balance. Get them as close as you can in camera. It's probably going to mean that they don't all have the same number. Like I would go and adjust them all by the Kelvin setting, which I think every camera has. Not all of them will probably let you adjust the tint, the green and magenta shift, but at least go adjust your white balance by Kelvin. Get them all looking the same as far as how warm and cold they are, and then try to go and get everything adjusted with exposure to get the right contrast and the right brightness and all that. You can also go and adjust contrast in your camera with a color profile. Every camera is different with that, so I can't really go too deep into that, but you can YouTube how to adjust color profiles on your camera. And then you can also do it inside of OBS or whatever your streaming software is. It's just going to take a little bit of fiddling with white balance, exposure, and color profiles, but you should be able to get them somewhat close. A lot of trial and error.
So I'm not the visual guy on the team. Obviously, that's Dylan. So a follow-up question to that is he trying to really match like skin tones? Is that the main thing that you try to match, or is there other things in the shot that you're working on?
I would say skin tones is always first priority when matching. There's been times where I've used even like 2 Canon cameras, and I'll match the skin tones, and then a light that's shooting up on the curtain looks a different hue of blue. It like looks more purple on one and more blue on the other. And that was actually at an event we did with one of our clients. But in the editing room, I had to go and kind of adjust the hue of that purple in one camera, which I think you can do that inside of OBS too. So it might mean you have to go and fine tune even just little things like that if you want to get them really close. I know it's a lot of tinkering around, but if you have any further questions about that, specifics with specific cameras, you can email me, dillon@collaborateworship.com.
So Ryan put a clarifying comment here. He was actually talking about audio being consistent from like if they're watching on a TV versus an iPad versus their phone. There is no way to make it sound the same depending on the device that you use, because each device has its own speakers and its own way that it processes audio and things like that. So it's always going to sound different on this TV versus this iPad versus a pair of headphones. So your goal is just to give them the best mix, the best audio signal that you can, and the best way to do that is through a pair of headphones connected to your mixer. So you want to get it sounding good in those headphones. That's going to translate differently depending on what device people are watching on. But if you have a great mix in those headphones, everybody out there is going to hear something good. It's not going to sound great. It's never going to sound great on an iPad. It's never going to sound great through TV speakers. It may sound great with somebody who has the $1,600 Bose system connected to their TV, right? But yeah, unfortunately, you can't make it sound. You can't send out like an iPad audio and a TV audio and trust that Facebook or whatever is smart enough to figure out what device they're watching on. Maybe that's in the future. Who knows? But it's not available right now.
If they were testing what it sounds like on a device, what device would you say they should prioritize to test on?
Well, I mean, most people are probably watching it on their TV. Well, I don't know. You could run some analytics on your actual stream to see how people are watching it. Maybe most people are watching it on your phone. So that's what you should listen to just to make sure that it does sound good on your phone. So, yeah, I would do some research first, see how people are watching it, and go from there.
All right, next up we have Victory Assembly Church. Let's go ahead and take a listen to them.
All right. That was a lot of energy. I love that. I wanted to be there at that church. That's probably a good time. I noticed that there's really no low frequencies in that. There's no even low mid frequencies. So it's hard to say why that is happening. Maybe there's a really aggressive low cut filter on the overall mix. If so, you need to turn that off. There should be no low cut filter on the overall live stream mix. Or maybe you just have aggressive low cut filters on all of the channels, on all the vocals, which in that case, the highest you ever really want your low cut filter on a vocal to be is about 180 hertz. The sweet spot is somewhere between 120 and 180, and that's going to be different for each vocal. So between 120 and 180 hertz on a vocal mic is where you want your low cut filter. And when it comes to instruments, like I could hear some instruments back there. Maybe it's a backing track going on if I had to guess, because we don't see any instruments on the stage or anything. And if that's the case, you don't need a low cut filter at all on your backing tracks, because those tracks are already mastered to perfection, and you want those low frequencies coming through because there's a bass guitar in there and drums and all that, and you just want to make sure you have full spectrum sound. So that's what we were missing in that mix. There was no full spectrum sound. So where are those low frequencies? You need to go find out where they're being cut and resolve that issue, and it's going to bring so much more energy to your mix over this live stream. I also noticed it was a little harsh, so maybe you're boosting somewhere in the 1 to 5 kilohertz range to bring clarity to it. People often do that, but when you have a clarity problem, you don't want to boost high frequencies. You actually want to go cut some low frequencies out, or some low mid frequencies. Usually on a vocal, for example, if you're having clarity issues, you need to pull out somewhere between 400 and 600 hertz. Maybe pull that down by about 6 dB, and it's going to add a lot of clarity to the vocal. I know it's kind of like a mind thing. You think, oh, I need some more clarity, so I need to go add something. You need to kind of transition your thing. You think, what do I need to take away to bring this clarity? So, but yeah, number one thing is go find where are those low frequencies and bring those into the mix, and that's going to automatically make all those harsh things not sound as harsh because they're balanced out by the low frequencies. So,
visually, level out the camera a tiny bit. It looks like you're kind of working with what you have in that room. I can tell with the camera. If you're able to zoom out anymore to get sorry. Guess I should put it on the screen. If you're able to zoom out anymore to get this person in the shot, or anybody that might be over here, that would be good. Maybe you can't, though. That's okay. Because she also runs off camera, too, which when my dad speaks, he always does that to us. I'm like, stay in the camera, you turd. And I would say drop exposure maybe a step or two. It looks just a tiny bit too bright. But I like how happy it looks. I think it's just a little too overexposed. Your white balance looks good, actually. I like it. You might even benefit from boosting saturation a tiny bit just to bring a little extra color into it. But that's all I have, I think, with what it looks like you're working with. It looks really good.
Awesome. All right. While he's loading up the next one, let's look at the comments here. Let's see. Caleb is asking about lower thirds lyrics and verses. What font size do you guys tend to recommend?
Man, I was just thinking while we were watching that, I need to make a video about lower thirds lyrics because we've had quite a few churches that could benefit from it. So maybe I should just do that. So just keep a lookout for that. I don't know without really like digging into it and seeing what would be best.
Yeah, I don't know like exact what the font size is per se. We could look that up and he can include it in the video. But just for a quick tip, while you're waiting on that video, is we prefer like just 2 lines of text. So whatever font size fills up that 2 lines in the lower thirds is usually ideal.
Let me go back and show you what ours looked like again. So you'll see here, we don't have a banner on ours because you can see the LED screen's lyrics just fine, and so we prefer that. But I do 2 lines. I like all caps. If that's not your flavor, that's fine. This is CMG Sans, so it's the website Church Motion Graphics. It's their font that they give out for free. I like it a lot. We've used it for a few years now. So if you go to churchmotiongraphics.com, you can get that font for free. But yeah, I prefer 2 lines. I think more than that is just too much, and 1 line is too little because then you're just like always looking for the next lyric.
Awesome. All right, just to follow up with Ryan there, he was saying it doesn't sound bad on an iPad. He was just hoping we can make it better. One thing, if you haven't tried it already, is to add a high shelving filter to the overall live stream mix at about 12 kilohertz and boost it about 6 dB. This is going to add like some brilliance and air to the mix that Facebook and YouTube usually tend to take away whenever they compress that audio signal. So again, that's a high shelving filter, somewhere around 12 kilohertz, and you boost about 6 dB, and it'll kind of take your mix, your live stream mix to the next level on the iPad, phone, and those kind of devices. All right, let's go to the next one.
This is a New Life Church.
Awesome. It looks like they have a really great team there. They're doing a great job with that song. I thought the mix was good. The drums were sounding good. I'm going to give you props on that. The floor tom sounded good. Great job on that. I think there's just one thing in this that could really improve the mix. I was hearing I'm going to guess it was the ambient mic. Now, it could be reverb, but let's just say it's the ambient mic. There needs to be some alignment done to that microphone, or the mics need to be moved, because there was like this slight delay problem that made her sound a little strange. I don't know if you noticed that, but the vocal just sounded a little like digitally, I don't know how to explain it, but it just sounded strange because you have that doubled up signal. It's like her mic signal is hitting, and then like the ambient mic signal is hitting right behind it, where those need to be lined up, and it's going to fix that problem. The easiest way to do that is to change the placement of your ambient mics. Right now, they may be like several feet in front of the mains, or they may be several feet behind the mains. The goal is to get them as close under the main speakers as you can, and that's going to solve the alignment issue. Now, if you can't move the mics themselves, then you're going to need to add some delay to the mics to line those up, and that's kind of a hard thing just to teach here in a quick thing. So you're going to have to do some YouTube research on how to do that, but it can be done, and it should be done, because that's going to improve your mix a lot.
Visually, I really like it. I love the white stage. My wife would love if our stage looked like that. She wants a white stage so bad. And I've got some cool ideas for a white stage that I'd probably love to execute when we get a new building. But I love that you have some dimension between the different layers of people. The instrumentalists are a little bit darker. The only thing I would really say is that your 2 vocalists here, they're a little too bright. So maybe the front lighting is too bright, because even when she's a mover, so when she's going further back, she's getting quite a bit darker than them. So I'd say the best fix to that is maybe just drop that front lighting if you're able to, if it doesn't make it look too bad in the room. But yeah, I think it looks good. Let me look at some other angles here again. Cool. Got some close-ups. Got a drum shot. I like it. The white balance on this one is a little bit off. I would see if you can match it to those other ones a little bit better. And skin tones are a little bit too warm. Unless you like that, then that's cool too. But good job on that. I like it.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to the next one.
So this is, let's see, what was their name? New Beginning Church of God. Here it goes.
We can hear the wind blowing and blowing and blowing. Move upon our praise. The sons and daughters sing. We can hear the wind
Come on,
blowing.
church. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so and say, let all her redeemed
Prophesy.
prophesy and sing. We can hear the wind blowing, blowing, blowing. Move
All right, awesome. Let's see. The lead vocal sounds really good. Her mic sounds really full and really present. It's really good. And then that background vocal came in and it sounded very strange. And what's causing it to sound strange is some kind of EQ issue going on. So I would go revisit the EQ on that background vocal and maybe just even reset it and do it again. Because something about it is making it sound weird. And I can't pick out exactly what frequency it is that's causing that issue. But if I were to come to your church and work on that, that's what I would do. I just reset the EQ and work on it from scratch. Let's see. There's something else I was going to mention. I'm blanking out. So why don't you talk about visuals and I'll see if it comes back to me.
It looks like you've got a darker look, kind of like we do. Maybe that's your preference. You're prioritizing the room over the live stream. That's what we do too. So they are looking a little dark, but if that's what you're doing, totally okay. White balance looks pretty good. Their skin tones are pretty close, except for just some color wash on them, but that's going to happen. I noticed some exposure inconsistencies between shots, so I would say maybe try to match that a little better. Like this one looks brighter than the other ones did, and that might also have to do with your front lighting too. I like the huge screen in the background. That's really cool. I think there was another shot I saw that I had a comment, if I can find it. I think that might be all I have.
I remember what I was going to say. I was going to talk about the bass guitar. It's kind of throwing off the whole instrumental mix. It has a lot of presence to it, but it doesn't have a lot of depth to it. So this could be an issue on how they have the knobs configured on the bass guitar itself. I would have them go ahead and level those out and put them right in their notch. And then once again, I would level out the EQ and start over with that. Make sure you're not boosting too much in those mid to high frequencies. Sometimes we do that to bring clarity out of the bass, but then it just makes it sound kind of strange. So the whole mix needs to be smoothed out, and that just takes place by getting the bass guitar right. And maybe it's even the bass guitar itself. I mean, sometimes what they give you from the instrument isn't the best quality. Maybe it's a cheaper bass guitar or something like that. I mean, in that case, there's only so much you can do, but you can use EQ to kind of shape that and make it better, which if that's the case, you're looking to maybe boost a little bit in the low mid frequency range. I'm talking like, 200 hertz and down. Just kind of like scan through there and find out what brings some depth to that bass guitar. And I bet you'll find out that it makes the whole mix sound a whole lot better.
Did you think the snare drum could have used a little more low end in it?
Yeah. Maybe there was just too much of the bottom snare mic on it.
Yeah.
So they could bring the bottom snare mic down and then increase the top one.
Cool. Any comments you'd like to read while I pull up the next one?
Let's see. They're looking forward to your video about lower thirds. Let's see. I don't see any questions on here, so we can move on to the next one.
I noticed some extra interference on your mic now.
Yeah, you got to love wireless interference. I don't know if you guys hear that on your end, but...
Because he was having trouble with wired interference before he put that one up there.
That's something that I actually need to study up on, is just wireless gear in general and how to get it all to be friendly with each other, because that's not something I've extensively poured myself into. And I know it's probably something that we all could benefit from too, because there's just a whole technical side to that I don't understand that I'm sure would be very helpful if I did understand, because I'd be able to solve this issue that's going on right now.
All right, here we go. The Second Chance Church, New York City.
are the everlasting God, the everlasting God. You do not faint, you won't grow weary. You're the defender of the weak. You comfort those in need. You lift us up on the wings like you are. You are the
All right, I thought overall that was really good. I could actually hear everything. I was hearing the piano and the guitar. I mean, you could hear everything in that mix. So great job pulling that together. It seemed like since I could hear everything, it kind of felt a little bit crowded as well, a little chaotic to me. And the reason it could be is because I think you have everything right in the center of the mix. So everything's just kind of like hitting right there. Whereas since you have so many instruments and so many vocals going on there, you should be panning some things. Like you could pan that keyboard a little bit over to the left side, and then you could pan the electric guitar a little bit over to the right side. And that makes the mix sound less like in your face. That way, not everything's in your face. You don't want to pan everything. Drums want to be center. The lead vocal, you want it to be center. The bass guitar, you want it to stay center. But like the electric guitar, acoustic guitar, keyboards, you can play with those a little bit. Pan them a little bit in your live stream mix, and it's going to add some... You'll probably be able to bring the volume down even on those, so the mix doesn't sound so crowded once they're panned, because it brings the separation that way instead of having to do it with volume only.
Visually, let's see. I'm looking around. I like just the slight color wash you have going on. It's like not too much. I think you could probably benefit from a lyric banner at the bottom of the screen as well. So maybe when I make that video, that'll be something you can try out, because I just think that's a little too small for the lyrics, and there's a little too many lines going on. But hopefully I can make a video that'll help you out with that.
I'm going to guess that's probably a technical thing that they're trying to figure out,
Yeah.
because they're just kind of duplicating what's actually on the screen into the corner there.
Which, if you get your screen, get the line count down on your screen, you can just duplicate your screen into just a long, short banner, which you can do inside of OBS or your streaming software. So I'll try to address that in the video when I make it. Other than that, she's a little too bright compared to everybody else. Maybe she's got more light. I don't know how your front lighting is working here, but she's got more light on her. So see if you can adjust that front lighting to get a more even wash across everybody. And then my only thing in this, I don't know if you can get them to, but if you can get these two over here, the guitarists, to stand up, I think it would help with the look overall visually, because they kind of just look like they're doing their own thing over here separate from everybody else. Maybe they don't want to, or maybe you like that they're sitting down. That's okay, but that's a suggestion I would give. I think that's it, though.
Awesome. Let's see. Questions here. Thoughts on using wireless mic for lead vocals. Is there any quality loss with that compared to a wired mic? Yes, there is quality loss when it comes to wireless, unless you're talking about super, high quality wireless gear, which if you're in a smaller church, that's not even an option. But I don't think that it's big enough that anybody's going to notice, unless you're an audiophile where you're really like A and B and seeing how different it sounds. I don't think you're going to notice it wireless versus wired. Each has its own benefits. I mean, even with a wired mic, you can have something go wrong with the wire, and then you have crackling and popping. And then with wireless mics, you can have interference, or you forgot to change the battery and it dies. So, I mean, no matter which one you choose, you're going to have issues that you have to deal with. I think that mainly comes down to budget, because in reality, the mic I'm using right here and the mic that Dylan's using are the same exact mic capsules, so they should sound very similar to each other. But since this is a wireless mic, you have to pay like $700-800 for this guy versus $150 for that one. So for the same sound, right? So I mean, you have to pay. What is that? 8 times as much for the wireless version of the mic. So I think the main choice comes down to budget.
Cool. We'll go ahead and ask your final questions. That's the last one we have to review. But while you're asking your final questions, I just want to show you some cool t-shirt designs that we got here. This is a great gift for your fellow sound techs. So if you want to get your sound team a cool Christmas present, highly recommend it. It supports us, helps us do what we do, and I think they would love a T-shirt for Christmas. So go check that out at shop.collaborateworship.com, and you get free shipping if you order 2 shirts.
Yeah, pull up that first one because that's like our most sold shirt there, so they can see a bigger version of it.
Different colors.
Yeah, it says God's FOH, man, God's front of house, man. And all the designs you'll see on our T-shirt shop are completely original to us. We have a graphic designer on our team, and he is incredible. So you're not going to find these designs and these shirts anywhere else. They're just right there. Just go to collaborateworship.com, and you'll see a T-shirts button there. I think we also have a link in the description to go check those out.
And if you like more simple T-shirts, we got some fun little phrases like it takes IQ to EQ. So some fun stuff like that, too. And then Cade wants to tell you about a free course opportunity we have for you. So tell them about that.
Yeah, so we have a free course called Live Stream Mix Made Simple, where we walk you through everything you need to know to get a great live stream mix from. We're talking about ambient miking and how to get reverb right in your mix and how to get your vocal sounding good and all that stuff, how to get it, just some simple tips that you can do to make it sound better on iPads and other devices. It's a really quick course. Like I said, live stream mix made simple. So there's not a whole bunch of fluff in the course. We just get right to the point and tell you exactly what you need to know to get a great live stream mix. And it's all from your main mix too. This isn't like you're buying another mixer to create a live stream mix. This is taking your main mix, adding some slight modifications to it by running it through a bus mix and then sending it out. And surprise, this is how a lot of the big churches do it too. And I was surprised by that because I thought this would be a small church thing just to simplify things. But even these large mega churches are just taking their room mix, modifying it just slightly, and then sending it out to their live stream. It just makes Sunday mornings a whole lot easier. So you can learn that strategy and everything you need to know by enrolling in that free course. Go to collaborateworship.com. You'll see a banner at the top, or you can click the link in the description.
And if you like the way our live stream sounds, that's the exact way that we did it. So if you want to achieve a similar sound, there you go.
Awesome. Let's see. We have a question here before we go. Thoughts on sampling the drum kit? We don't now, and they don't sound bad, but they could always be better. I'm guessing that you're meaning like using some triggers on your drums so that you can use drum sample sounds for your live stream mix instead of what your mics are picking up on your drums. If that's not what you meant, you can clarify in the comments. Hopefully we see that before this stream ends. But I think if you're going to go down that route, you might just want to look into, I don't even know if I can say this, an electronic drum kit. I don't know. I know that they've gotten a lot better. I'm kind of anti-electronic drum kit, but I'm considering trying them again.
We're trying to get our hands on, I just pulled it up so I can get this right, the Roland VAD 506. It's like an acoustic electric hybrid. And I've listened to some demo videos, and it's actually really impressive. You can actually tune the heads to different pitches if you want. It gives you like a pretty good amount of flexibility for an electric kit, and all the cymbals are electronic. So in a scenario like ours, some Sundays we get a lot of cymbal. Depending on how the drummer is playing, sometimes that just means communicating to him, but sometimes it's a lot. And I would really love to see what it would sound like to have some electronic cymbals in here just to test out and see if we could get the sound that we want. So we're trying to get our hands on one of those to test out for you guys. But I think that'd be really cool.
Yep. See, Ryan's like, no electric kit. I feel you, Ryan. I feel you. But I'm kind of trying to have an open mind and trying something like this that Dylan pulled up. I don't think you have it on the screen where they can see that unless you just went back.
There you go.
Yeah. But I don't know. If we get our hands on one of these, we will try it and we will review it and we will let you know. But just so you know, I've been a staunch acoustic drum kit user forever. We've had the caged kit, the non-caged kit, and this is where we've landed. There's no cage, but we do have some, whatever you call those, kind of shields around the cymbals to kind of help dampen those a little bit. And the curtain that's behind the stage is a very expensive curtain that also absorbs sound, so that helps absorb the drum energy too. All kinds of things you can do. If you want to look on our YouTube channel, we have a video specifically on using a drum kit without a drum shield. One thing that I did think of, Ryan, though, on the triggers, of all the tours that we've done, I haven't found one church yet, even the bigger churches, that are using triggers on their drums for the live stream mix. They're all miking their drums just like we do. But they are using triggers for their gates on their drum mics. So they put a trigger on there, and then they program it to their mixer, and that's what triggers the gate to open for like the snare drum or whatever. I want to do that. We haven't done it yet, but I'd love to buy some triggers and do that because it makes your gating completely accurate. And it's because it's not getting any kind of interference. It's not trying to gate from the audio signal. It's gating from, that trigger telling it what to do. So if you're going to use triggers, I would start there. Use it to control your gating and see how that does.
And if you're curious what these cymbal shields are, they're from the company Smoke and Ace. I've had a few questions about those, so smokeandace.com or something like that if you want to check those out. But we used to have the round ones, and we like these a lot better because they kind of wrap around the cymbal a little bit more, and they've helped cut down on the cymbal noise a little bit.
Cool. So before we close this off, I think I'm going to give them a little inside information about something new that's coming for Collaborate Worship. We haven't told anybody this yet, but since you've taken the time to be here with us and you've made it all the way to the end, I want to tell you that we have something new coming called Collaborate Worship Inner Circle. We're really excited to be launching this. It's going to have its own Slack group. We're going to have exclusive content for the people that are a part of the Inner Circle. We're going to have these live stream reviews, specifically like where you give us your review and you don't have to wonder if yours is going to get picked, but yours will get prioritized in those. We'll have monthly coaching sessions where we'll bring on people like James Wassam and some of the other guys that we know and just help you. I mean, each month will be focused on, like, say, next month is EQ, and so we'll get on a call together and we'll talk about EQ and things like that. Anyway, we're still ironing out the details of that, and you'll hear about it. We'll let you know via email, but hey, there you go. You're the first to know that this is coming out. We hope to have it. What's our goal by the end of the month?
Yeah, I think so.
So hopefully we hit that goal.
Where do they go and sign up for emails in case they're not already?
Yeah, if you're not on our email list already, just go to collaborateworship.com, and there's a blue button there on that front page where you can, I think it says sign up for weekly training, free weekly training. Just hit that button. That'll get you on our email list. That way you know whenever we launch the Inner Circle. What does it say? Yep, free weekly training. Hit that button. That'll get you on our email list. All right, anything else?
I don't think so. I think we blabbled on enough.
Y'all, thanks so much for being with us. We really do enjoy our time with you on here on these live stream reviews. We'll do this again next month. In the meantime, if you need anything from us, don't ever hesitate to reach out. You can reach us via email. Mine's Cade